Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Anup Kumar Kapoor from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. Today we are going to discuss about a module known as Displacement, Rehabilitation and Social Changes under the paper Tribal Culture of India. The objectives are: the first, student will be able to learn land acquisition bills, displacement. Second, student will be able to learn rehabilitation and resettlement, and student will be able to know the case of the displacement, rehabilitation and social changes in tribes. Now we take the introduction part. After the independence period, India started to develop to policies towards the development of the nation, economic growth of the people, development in infrastructure, roads, basic necessity like hospital, schools and colleges for the people. Started investment in the large miming and dam project, investment in industrial area. This process started the taking of new approach, and that is displacement and land acquisition from original inhabited people. In India, lot of displacement, rehabilitation and resettlement place has taken. Tribal people are more vulnerable and exploited from the mainstream society. Land acquisition, according to United Nations Universal Declaration on Human Rights, housing is right of human beings as basic human right. Displacement of people from their living place create mental disturbance to human being. It creates insecurity of land, jobs. In India, most of the land acquisition is done by the government for various different regions. Land acquisition bill is made in Parliament in 1894 by the Land Acquisition Act. If the government is taking any land for its purpose, in this case, government have to give prior notice to vacate the land, and in return of land, government should provide the cash compensation to landowner. This is according to Land Acquisition Bill. There are some issues related to displacement and rehabilitation which are given below. First, people after displacing from their own place suffer from various mental disturbance. They pass through the socio-cultural change stage. This may result in culture shock, rise in criminal activities. Second, most of the tribal people are poor because of low technology, lack of education. Their condition of economic gets worse due to the loss of job, loss of common property they assess. Insecurity of the food, social isolation increase the rate of morbidity and mortality. Third, the tribal people suffer from health related problems because of the poverty. They used to live in unhygienic place and do not get sufficient amount of required protein, iron, vitamin in their meals. Fourth, tribal peoples are not familiar with the policies and trends of modern economy, so they get alienated by itself after getting compensation too. Fifth, tribal people lost their traditional identity of individuals. This is due to break in connection between the people and the environment, loss in indigenous knowledge regarding the plates, herbs, and shrubs. Finally, with the displacement, tribal people also lose their social network, like kinship systems, vanishing in the traditional dance of particular tribe, folk songs, because when they get resettled with new place, they hardly get in touch with their members. Change in occupation. Objective of the rehabilitation. First, displaced tribal people also get opportunities of employment along with the cash compensation. Second, people of the villages must be taken into confidence about implementation of each and every step. They must be aware of the policy, new projects about the usefulness of their land. And thirdly, when tribal people get displaced from their place, they must follow living in the lifestyle and patterns of their own way without imposing any restriction on them. Development and tribal identity. In India, tribal is considered as the ethnic people. Due to the distinction culture linguistic group, handoff approach was adopted by the government of for tribes living in isolated northeast area. To protect the tribe from the outsider hand, government developed fifth and sixth schedule in the Constitution of India. For northeast state and northern India, from the restricted the entry of outsider to the tribal zone. Tribal area are directly administered by the Government of India. Government set up review commission on tribal policy known as Debar Commission in 1960. Debar Commission report provided the information that actualization process is taking place. Due to the modernization, this led to the changes in the occupation of tribal community, from forest orientation and hill cultivation to the animal husbandry and agriculture. This report led provision of the Indian Forest Act 1927 that avoid rejecting the customary tribal rights to the forest. In Kerala, after emerging the Communist Party, it led discouraged to private companies and corporate from entering into high-tech plantation activities. Given preference to the cooperative societies to enter the high-tech agriculture to promote tribal modernization and rehabilitation, to bring the tribal people with the mainstream for the struggle against the landlordism, Kerala Communist Party started the demand for creating Kerala as a linguistic province of India. In this view, tribal had to come up with the new opportunities in context of the economic development, social advancement, etc. In 1975, Kerala successfully implemented and acted the Abolition Bonded Labour Act. By this act, large number of tribal people were freed from grip of the moneylenders. Government of Kerala also started the rehabilitation program for releasing tribal. Cooperating farming were formed for the cultivation of commercial cash crop by the tribes. Later, tribal forests were taken by the cooperative projects named as Sugandhari Cardamom Project with their Jasni tea estate. Tribe also provided with water supply, social infrastructure, education, establishment, and sanitation. Government also had come up with the idea of tribal development programs, plan, and schemes. Short details of tribes in India. Article 366, Clause 25 of the Constitution refers to the scheduled tribes to those communities who are scheduled according to Article 342 of the Constitution and has been declared by the President of India. They are called denotified tribes or scheduled tribes of India. Total scheduled tribes population in India is 47.10% according to 2001 census. According to the list of Ministry of Tribal Affairs, the characteristics of the scheduled tribes are as follows: distinctive culture, second, geographical isolation, third, indications of primitive culture, fourth, signage with the contact to other communities, and the lastly, backwardness. India is a country with vast diversity in culture. Tribes India is distributed to all over the country, foothills of the Himalaya to land of the Lakshadweep, India, from hills of the northeast state to the plains of Gujarat, highest percentage of tribes in Chhattisgarh states of India, that is 30.6%. About 12% tribes are in northeastern states. Some tribes of northeastern states come under 6th schedule of the Constitution, which grants northeastern tribes a greater autonomy. Nagaland and Mizoram tribes run their civil affairs according to their customary laws. There are total 641 tribes in India. Out of these, 176 tribes are inhabited in central India. The distribution of tribal population in India is based on linguistic and geographical location. Indigenous knowledge of tribes. Tribes of India are hill and forest dwellers, also inhabited a desert coastal area. They having the vast experience of practice of indigenous knowledge leading to sustainable livelihoods. Their knowledge reflects in harvesting techniques, construction of the bridges in hills, use of shrubs and plants for medicine purpose. In hilly area, tribe practice old knowledge in construction of their houses, like what material should be used in making house warm, useful remedies and medicine gives to pregnant women, and to newborn babies to make them strong. All this knowledge, valuable, should be preserved in written and document form when before it gets vanished in modernization. Then we'll talk about rehabilitation and resettlement. Now here we'll like to give you the cases. First is the case in Odisha. Rehabilitation policy of Odisha. Persons eligible to receive the rehabilitation and resettlement assistance include a person above 18 years, irrespective of his marital status, all mentally and physically challenged person, disabled person. Thirdly, minor orphan who lost both parents, have nobody to look after. Then next is divorcees and the widows. Then we have coal mining projects. Coal mining project is the main economy activity in Odisha, as Odisha is rich in minerals. One found the impact of coal mining in two districts coal rich. Tribal women and men have lost due to mining projects. Conflicts have taken between the tribal people and host of mining projects, and it came with the several recommendations which is useful for policy, which are given below. First, tribal people should get information which can be affecting them. Second, NGO involvement must involve encouraging in all resettlement activities. Third, affected person, especially women, should get employed in mines on priority. The site which has been provided for resettlement must have the necessity sufficient that provide the livelihood. Assets lost must replace with replacement value. Resettlement should be land based, and finally, the community should involve in the resettlement process decision making. Then we have industrial projects in from Odisha is on industrialization growth. It is supported by many foreign companies as big player like POSCO, NET, Vedanta projects. Foreign countries has looking more for in our country because of favorable industrial policy, and Indian companies like Tata Steel, NTPC, NALCO, and because of the industrialization projects has put impact on the lives of the local people. Some of the recommendations include in settlement policy they are as follows. First, record of land should be updated and computerized. Second, involvement of the eminent social science and professional in resettlement. There should be strong and effective grievance redressal mechanism, avoidance of gender discrimination in resettlement policies. Websites should be created and updated by the project to provide information about all activities of the resettlement. Then we talk about POSCO project in India. POSCO is Korea-based subsidy to build its Indian rupees, that is 51,000 crore steel plant in Paradip in Jagatsinghpur district of Odisha. On August 8, 2008, Supreme Court allowed the POSCO company to build its project. On the same day, Supreme Court allowed one more foreign-based subsidy of Britain's Vedanta Resource Private Limited Company in Nimagiri Hills in Kalahandi district of Odisha to start its mine bauxite in Nimagiri Hills. In this area, tribe named Dongariya Gond tribe considered Nimagiri Hills to sacred place. Dongariya Gond tribe started protest against the Vedanta. Supreme Court order has undermined the tribal protest and encouraged the acquisition of land, leading to the land displacement without proper rehabilitation, destruction of their culture. It leads to threat to the culture of tribes in the name of development, threats into their lives on the name of displacement. Then in 2008, in Jagatapur district, violence erupted for demanding compensation package for settlements near Bhusan Steel and Strip's upcoming project and Mera Mundali in Dhenakal district. Villagers tried to stop the construction. Villagers alleged that they have turned to daily laborers' wages from farmer. They have also accused that they have given their land on throwaway prices, which is very less. But now they want their land back. It was also claimed by the displaced victims they were harassed by the demanding compensation. Now we will see the effect of resettlement, creating the risk of new poverty, displacement, and development induce unleashable widespread of environmental, economic, and social changes patterns that they follow. First is landlessness, moving from settled place to new place. Compensation prices paid only fulfill the immediate demands of survival and needs. Other land they shifted is less or unproductive, so the loss of the productive values. Second is joblessness. These people are belong to rural areas, so they are unfamiliar with the rural peasant and indigenous economics. Most of them get in fear when they get job in the project company because of cultural shock. Health risks. Many records have resulted that health risks is associated with displacement. Already, tribal people are at marginal health risks. After displacement, they get in trauma and stress of moving. Problems that documented shows that gaining access to safer water, safe sewage, increase the epidemic infection, dysentery, and diarrhea. As a result, impact on health fall ills such as expecting mothers, children, infants, and elderly. Land alienation. Most important assets to any person or population or tribes are resourceful productive land. It is also occupy the important mental or psychic stay in their culture, religious and social activities. Land acquisition has not only for public interest, it has been taken for fraudulent cases, lease and encroachment. For self-interest purpose, many fraudulent take the land from their tribal people and sell it for construction of buildings and malls. These lands are taken by taking the thumb impression on land document paper and get registered in land records. Land alienation in the rural area types. First, government has played important role in taking back land of tribal people from the non-tribal people or plain people. Different state governments has framed different laws for of protective. Andhra Pradesh has land regulation which is called Land Transfer Regulation Act of 1959 and later its 1970 Act by amendment. Some provisions have drawn to protect the land from non-tribal. First is transparency in the records of the land assessed of tribal land at village level in local language, not only in English. To dispose the case of strong political will also require. Next, when land records are absent of tribal, so oral evidence should be considered and also try to dispose the case in speedy way in case absence of land records. Then next is display of the revenue details at the village level must be implemented. Regular conduct of the Jama Bandi, the regular updating of the land records must be kept. Next, every land dispute should be solved as soon as possible so the tribes do not face any harassment from non-tribal people, revenue and other departments. Next, the non-tribal people should get stay order from the court after the lands are restored to the tribal. This should not be allowed as the lands are gained in the enjoyment of non-tribals. Finally, in the survey of the land, NGO and tribal should allow to participate. Then, for the speedy settlement of cases, sufficient required staff should be posted in tribal areas. The land which is cultivated by the tribal since age should be provided with the patta to forest villagers. Every state with rural area should have a proprietary clause while transferring lands from tribes. State which is having particular pocket area of tribes or zones of tribes democrat this area under the fifth schedule of the constitution. I will give you one example that in one of the states like Himachal Pradesh, the only the man from the Himachal Pradesh can buy the land. Other than Himachal Pradesh, the people are not allowed to buy the land. Tribal land alienation in Jharkhand. Jharkhand is new state formed in 2000. Here, the Land Alienation Act arises because of two laws, Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act and Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act, to prevent sale of land to non-tribals from tribal people. Tribal people had filed a petition in Jharkhand court for recovering their land from mining companies. Tribal people have also protested against National Hydroelectric Company for the implementation of the Koil Karo hydroelectric project. If the project has passed, then it will submerge more than 200 villages, temples, churches, more often 50,000 acres of land, forest area, and agriculture area will come to doom. Then ArcelorMittal, the largest steel-making industries, faced stiff resistance from the tribals. Tribal made their organization with name called Adivasi Mulwasi Astiwa Raksha Manch. Tribal stated that land identified by the Mittal is not transferable land to the non-tribal people. Then we have Chhattisgarh case. Chhattisgarh state contribute about 16% of coal to the country. Tribes of Kamaria village started to raise the objection for giving their land to the Jindal coal mines in 2007. These people were beaten up by the administration during the protest. Tribes of the states are Bihor, Baga, Kamar, Hill Korwa, and Abuzmaria. In the development process of Chhattisgarh state, tribal land relation has taken on large scale, that is, cement plants in Tellid, diamond mining in Devbhog, power plant in Premnagar, core blocks in Raigad, bauxite mining in Jaspur and Sarguja. All in this area, tribal face resisting displacement. A peasant woman named Satyabhama lost her life. She was forced to break the indefinite strike. She has took for saving the water of river named Kalvo. This river is polluting through the wastage of Jindal Steel in district of Raigad. We take coal-based thermal power plant of IFCO case. The Indian Farmers Fertilization Cooperative Limited, known as IFCO, decided to put its investment in coal-based thermal power plant in Premnagar, Sarguja district of Chhattisgarh. But unfortunately, IFCO had to withdraw from the project proposal for setting up 1,000 microwave coal-based thermal power plant because there was strong protest against the project by the tribal people. In Bastar region, protest in 2008 in May, steel plant of Isar proposed to set up steel plant Farasal district of Dandewala. Tribal people of this region by doing 2 days Padayatra from the site of steel plant of Isar to district of Dandewala to protest mining of iron ore from the mountain Villadela. They claim that the government has given the land on lease to industrial houses such as Tata and Isar in mountain Bildalila area of 40 kilometers along and 10 kilometers wide. This mountain area is rich in deposits of iron ore. This land area should not give on lease to the private companies because this could pose a greater threat to cultural and social activities existence to the mountains as well as for the local culture of the tribal people. In this slide, you will find that Chief Minister assures livelihood security to displaced tribal from forest. They are here. The Chief Minister has given assurance and has the local villagers will be asked to develop Guru Ghasidas National Park and Tamor Ping as tiger reserves. And in the meeting of the brainstorming discussion also had on to go for cloning science techniques to conserve and enhance the population of wild buffalo in the Danti Siddhartha Tiger Reserve. She has ordered to adopt every possible method to preserve the state animal which is in the stage of extinct. Finally, we conclude that development projects emerging as a new source of land alienation, tribal area are most attractive to private companies for exploiting mineral resources, and tribal are forced to pay higher price in case of irrigation project. Report by various researchers has shown that only small percentage of tribal have benefited with facilities of rehabilitation. From the big projects, large number of tribal people have been displaced and pushed towards the increase in the employment, destitution, and debt bondage. Payment of compensation given by the host of the project directly cash, but it empowers the tribals to do unproductive expenditure and practice of fraudulent. In the process of the displacement, children and women get more badly affected in the loss of the right from the forest, access to the traditional source of livelihood such as water, land, forest, pasture, and rivers. Marginalizes women more than the men in the labor market. Finally, women and tribal people can be empowered by regaining the other sources and land. Let's summarize this module. We have observed that land acquired for project by the government according to the Land Acquisition Act. The land acquisition is a legal standing, but rehabilitation is no legal standing. For example, who is deprived from livelihood has no legal action for rehabilitation. The main features of land acquisition is to give the compensation to the person losing property in land acquisition. For tribes who inhabited to original place earn their livelihood through the forest. Forest is source of the food, fodder, fuel, and other daily use of household items. But now, after displacement, the accessibility to forest is restricted to them. So many incidences about displaced people have been pushed lower level of economic status as compared to their own inhabited places. Social changes has also been seen like changes in their own culture, forgetting their traditional customs and values, folklore and dance. They came to urban city in search of job. Many of them used to pull rickshaw and try to tell about that they are tribe. Now I would like to give you few very living examples. LP Vidyarthi has quoted in his book that the tribals, when they migrated, when some of the industrials were coming up, industrial houses or the factories were opened, these tribal groups from Bihar, they start working as a laborer in that factories. Is one incidence. Whereas recently we have also found that some nuclear thermal power was opened in South India, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Then there was a problem from the local people because they didn't want that it should be open. Again, it happens in the case of Rajasthan. But again, here I would like to emphasize that some of the educated people from belongs to Stool tribe, they are coming to very modern cities or metropole cities for earning their job. That's why there are other concept of migration. And lastly, the example is that from Odisha, there was when dams were made, the tribals were displaced and they had a lot of problem, and the anthropologists were employed to study their problems and how they should be rehabilitated. Another example is Terry Dam. When this Terry Dam was made, there was a problem with the caste population. Somehow it was solved, but this is a few very interesting cases from the anthropological point of view. The tribals, other caste populations, they are migrating, they are being displaced, but a very thorough plan should be made by the government of India to rehabilitate them. Thank you.